Good morning, good evening, and good day. Thank you so much for watching Attack Powered Gaming. Today we're going into our next episode of our series of how to get good at Steel Division 2 with explaining very thoroughly all of the different actions and motions you can do with your hotkeys. Now I know this might sound really basic, but a lot of these things go beyond the basic orders, the simple attack, move, and move the map kind of stuff. I'll go over those really briefly at the beginning, but you can skip ahead if you want to hear some of the other quick hotkeys and stuff. And you can see these in the options menu, but a lot of them are not self-explanatory or very clear exactly what they do. So we're going to be walking through what all those hotkeys things do today. If you enjoy this content, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel for more Steel Division 2 content. Let's dive right in. So I have myself here on Orsha North. I didn't make an opponent because I just wanted to be able to move all these guys individually. So we're just going to call in a whole bunch of different things and just so I can highlight what these do. Now, first things first, we are looking here in the options menu at the controls. Now understand, I think I may have changed some of these slightly because I want the buttons I use most often to be in a logical place. Of course, you want to leave your WASD kind of stuff. That stuff's very important. Flares in team games, you might want to be aware of these or put them on buttons use more easily. I don't really use the tab button at all. Deployment menu, you should just leave that open all the time. Whereas that interface, you should leave that open. Always keep open. There's no reason to be clicking that open and close. So if that's not already always open, you should definitely change that immediately. By the way, I've mentioned this a few times in other videos, but the Winchester automatic evacuation is right here. So if you want your planes to immediately evac the moment they drop their bombs, turn that on. If you want to be a little bit more hands-on and you're ready to do the extra micromanagement, leave that off so you can actually start to control those planes. But then you have to remember to evac them yourself later. So just keep that in mind. And we're not going to go over these today. I just wanted to mention that one really quick. So let's hop all the way over here. Where were we? So unit information, that actually can be really useful to bring up from time to time. Like I said, you shouldn't need a deployment menu. Weapons on and off, I might actually consider changing this off of H. It's not often I actually want to turn the weapons off all the way. There's another order you can do instead that's way more useful than actually turning the weapon off. Because the problem is this turns all the weapons off. It makes sense to turn off like APCR or something, but not all of them most of the time. Display line of sight, this is really important. C's a good button for it so you can get to it all the time. Stop's really important. I have never actually used this order at all. I don't actually, so I'm sure someone in the comments can tell me exactly what this does, but every time I click it, they just seem to run to the edge of the map. I assume they're just running away, but like not retreat-wise. They just like spread out, I guess. I don't actually have a button for efficient shot. I think I changed it to something else because I really don't use this often. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I just don't. Maybe I should. Return fire, this one's really good. This is an important one to use. This is what you should use instead of turning the weapons on and off. You can turn on return fire. We'll talk exactly what that does. Auto cover, this is generally just on. I've never pressed the N button. They just kind of do it themselves. I think they just randomly move towards a cover, so I wouldn't use that. Fire in position, really important. Move is simply clicking. Fast move, really important. Attack, Q, really, really important. I think this one I did change fast move and attack. I have it on J. This is really useful. Unloaded position is extremely useful. Unload, smoke position, yes. Reverse, evac, fall back. Those are most of the ones you really got to worry about there, and we're going to go over how those work here. So more so than just simply me telling you what they do. So let's hop in here, and just right at the beginning here, I want to highlight something. So we have our Opel Blitz, moves 80 kilometers an hour. We have, let's see, some Horsch 108s. They move 90 kilometers an hour. And we have our Husaraks, which move 60 kilometers an hour. And then our Panzer Grenadiers, which move 53 kilometers an hour. And this is not what this video is about, but I just want to show you the difference in how long it takes them to get to this location and why I advise you not to use something like a half track at the beginning of the game because of how long you'll see the difference here. So the first button we're going to talk about is WASD. WASD moves the screen. Okay, really important. You should know how to do that. All right. Our next button here specifically at the beginning of the game is the Y button, and that is move fast and unload. I guess I should back up. Let's start with the F button, which is move fast. So when you click F and you press F, you're going to see those little 3 lines come up, and you click on a location, the line will be blue. And I know it has a straight line. They are not going to actually drive in a straight line. When you press start on the game, this will automatically change, and they will follow whatever road, or well, really whatever path will get them to that location fastest. That's it. It'll just go whatever the fastest way, which is usually a road. Just assume it's a road. Maybe at the very end it might veer off the road, but for the most part, it's on a road, and they're going to go all the way there. And when they get there, they're just going to stop. So just be aware, if you do fast move, they're just going to move there, and they're not going to stop either. So if you're using a tank, okay, something that can actually shoot, and I do fast move here, he's going to move to this location. Now, this is C. He's going to move to this location, and he's not going to stop no matter what happens. He's just going to fly here as fast as possible. So just be aware, that is fast move. Okay. C, our next really important one, the line of sight tool. So you can see here, red is obviously blocked line of sight, and not red is things they can see. Now, just be aware. This tool, extremely important. You should use it absolutely all the time. Sometimes it's a little bit buggy, as in like you shouldn't be able to get shot, or you should be able to shoot something, and for some reason apparently you can't actually see the unit. So just be aware, if you have like this, like, see that really thin line of sight here looking off into the north, sometimes maybe it'll say it can see that and it won't. Now usually it works, but like I said, 1 out of 100 times you're going to get these weird situations where it says you shouldn't be seen but they still get shot. So just be aware of that. So that is the C key, though. You should use that absolutely all the time. Okay. Now, even more important than the fast move, I barely move fast move. I barely use it. It's not really, I mean, for tanks maybe, okay, but and vehicles, but for transports, no, never. You should instead use the Y button. Y is move fast and unload, which is green. So it will move as fast as it can to this location and automatically unload when it reaches this location. Be very careful when using this button, because I mean there's ways to use this right and ways to use it lazily. So I just did it and press Y, and when you just do it on a building, it's going to randomly, no, I shouldn't say randomly, it's going to auto choose where to put it. You want to be very specific. So say like I do this building, if I just click really fast, he's going to drive here and try to cut across or come under and drive all the way to this specific spot. Instead, I prefer he stop up here right next to the actual building on the road. So that difference is actually a big deal. I want you guys to be very careful with this. It may seem like a really small thing, and it's like, wow, that's just one more thing to deal with. But the fact of the matter is that the difference between here and here is the difference between a dead transport and a live one, and getting your troops out, especially at the beginning of the game. Those fast transports, those things you want to get in really quick, the difference is really important. And it matters, especially in these long buildings. It will just like randomly, notice it doesn't matter where on this long building I click, it's putting it right there, which in this case is good, but a lot of times it's not that good. So if I really wanted it to unload up here, I'd have to unload like kind of off of the building, because otherwise it's going to put it in this same spot, and maybe I don't want it there, so I'm going to have to be very specific. So be aware of that with the fast unload, move fast and unload. But that is probably the most important button at the beginning. Use that. Do not do fast move, because then your transfer is going to stop, you're going to forget to unload them, and they're going to die. Okay. Now, if you insist on using the fast move, what you can do is do fast move to here, okay, and then you hold down shift and press U. U is your unload button. Okay, now shift allows you to stack orders. So when you hold down shift and you click a number of orders here, so let's do this for example, fast move, and then shift, click, 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 whatever. Okay, you can now see my tank has queued up all of these orders to move. Now those are just move orders. So if you just right click, it will just move. Okay, so it'll move, but it will not do it the fastest way. It'll literally just go straight lines. Okay, so here it would literally just do a straight line. Even though it could take the road and go faster, it's going to just straight line. So you rarely want to do this kind of move, except sometimes with infantry in the woods if you do not want them to stop for some reason. But for the most part, you're not going to use this a ton. So just be aware. That's hold down shift to queue up orders. It's really important. Now, next we have the Q button. The second most important button in the whole game. Probably the most important. Q. Oh, I can't do it while we're in this. You can't do Q while you're in the oh, yes, you can. There we go. Oh, it was a transport. If they don't have a gun, they can't use the Q button. I clicked on the wrong button. That is your attack move. So the moment it runs into a guy, it'll stop and start shooting. So if they runs into someone here, he'll stop and start shooting. If he runs into him up here, he'll stop and start shooting. So just be aware, Q, extremely important. You should generally just use Q for most things, except at the beginning of the game. So if you're just like fighting, I mean, so you're in the woods, your troops are here, and you want them to move, you should just click Q and have them attack for. That's generally the best way to go. All right, let's really quick queue up a couple things here so we can hop in. And like I said, I just want to show you guys our little rat race here between our couple transports. Make sure I get them all here. Cool, cool, cool. Did I get this guy? We're all going to the same place. Awesome. Grab ourselves a plank. So some stuff we have to do with that. Grab ourselves artillery. A couple things to do with that. And we'll fast travel there. Okay, actually, I want to show you what happens if I just click. So if I just click, I want you to see what this mortar does. All right, let's launch up. Here we go. So you can see how the orders changed. Just so you know, this button down here is how you turn orders on and off. You should leave them on. I leave them on because I want to know what the heck my guys are doing. And sometimes you misclick and you'll have this huge line across the map. You'll be like, what in the heck is that? Then you know. Because if you don't do that, then your guy's just going to wander out and you're going to be like, why are they out there? And you're going to start screaming at the game like it's the game's fault. In reality, you misclicked. So we can see here. He's just driving straight. And this is the worst way to move a guy because you can see how slow it is in comparison to what it could be if I fast moved instead. Watch how much this speeds up. Look at him go. I mean, it's not particularly fast, but look at him go. Now look at the difference here. 90, 80, 60, 53. This is the difference we're talking about here in terms of speed. So at the beginning of the game, you should really not be using anything less than 80 if possible. Now, some divisions don't have anything faster. Like the Hungarians only have these horrible Batanda A's or whatever they're called. I mean, you're not getting faster. But the fact is, if you're going to try to rush at the beginning, you need at least 90, at least 80, but 90 preferably to get to the spot. And this is why half tracks are not very useful. They're going to get shot before they get to where they're going. So just be aware. Okay. So if I want him to go right to the building, I'd click this. Notice a red line. If you click on a building with infantry, it'll turn red. That's how you know it's going to a building like that, and he'll go right there. Okay. And Q will do the same thing, except that it will stop and attack things if the time comes. Okay. So next buttons to use here. Talking about tanks here for a moment. Really important button is G, reverse. This will literally reverse the tank straight back in the direction in which you order it to be. Now be careful using this order because if you put it off to the side, the tank is going to turn its armor and get shot on the side. So you have to be very careful with it. It's not just oh, I'm going to randomly reverse. Okay, so let's say there's an AT gun over here and he's shooting me like this, or like right over here and he's got this barely angle, like maybe he's like that and he can barely see me. Okay, and I want to try to get back. I'm going to hit G and I'm going to slowly back up. I do not want to go like this though, because now my side armor is showing. So be careful when using this, but it's really useful because here's the thing. If you just click like this randomly, okay, oh, he's already in reverse mode. Oftentimes, if you just click backwards, instead of going in reverse, which would be the logical thing for the tank to do, it is going to do that. And now its side armor is totally exposed. Boom, boom, boom. Tank is dead. So you really want to use G instead to force the tank to go in reverse. That's really, really important. Now, J, I did forget J. J is the same thing as fast move and attack. It's basically fast move and attack together. So this will move on a road, and if it runs into something, it will attack it. Okay, I do use this pretty often, especially on tanks that are coming in. Just so you know, when you call troops in, so when you deploy them at the beginning, so let's just call in a T-34 here, it's automatically going to come in as a fast attack move order. Okay, so anything with a gun that is moving, it will automatically come in as a fast attack move order. Infantry will automatically just come in as a fast move order. It won't look like fast move. It'll still have these dotted lines, but my transport has no guns. So it's basically like a hybrid. Basically, it's a fast move with some sort of attack attached to it if it can. Okay, our next button here is for artillery and planes, is T, and that is our attack position thing here. And we can see for the mortar, it increases, you know, depending on how far away it goes. This is very important that you use. This attacks ground. So instead of like actually clicking on the unit, most of the time I'll actually do this to send this kind of thing, and it will, of course, line up its shot and land within this circle. Planes. In terms of planes, you have to use, so if I just click right now, the plane will come out. So here it comes, it's flying, and it's just gonna fly and then random, like, just auto circle in this location. Okay, so it's very important that you know that that's what it's going to do. If I actually want it to attack the ground, okay, now let's say I want the plane to fly this way, I can hold shift and kind of guide it around there. Now truthfully, usually I would just click and like go like this. Planes are very manually used. If you're going to micro them a lot, you may use them very manually. If I hit T, that is how I can get it to attack ground. So now it's going to angle itself so that it can get into a position to actually fly down. If we follow him in here, here he goes, and he's going to attack the ground. So if you want your planes to actually attack something on the ground, that's kind of what you have to do. Now, you really don't want to just right-click something. Why? Because the second it loses line of sight, it's going to kind of like stop. So if I like just click attack here and the dude like goes out of line of sight, it's just going to keep like, it's not, sometimes it just won't attack, especially bombers and rocket planes. Like rocket planes won't shoot their rockets if they lose sight of the plane, if it's not ground attack. So be aware of that when using your planes. Ground attack is generally better unless you know you have line of sight on the unit, and then you can just click on it and attack. But just be, especially where rocket planes are very finicky they're very annoying when it comes to actually ordering attack. Now, once I want this to evac, I hit V. So V is evac, and now the plane will fly off. Remember, it takes several seconds, about 10 to 15 seconds for a plane to actually like get off of the map. Okay, you can see how long this takes. It's a long time when someone's chasing to shoot you down. Okay, so be aware. That's V. R is for infantry and for ground units to retreat. You cannot press retreat if your unit is unsuppressed. So if you haven't been shot at all, you can't press retreat. I'm going to press U here. My infantry will unload there, just like that. So no, I'm pressing R right now and nothing's happening because none of these guys are actually suppressed. All right, so if I poop, my guy's too close. Let's see if I can. Oh, I can. I'm going to drop some mortars on my own dude here. No, not a machine gun. Oi, oi, oi. Ooh, one important thing to know, especially if you're a noob, your artillery and stuff does affect your own troops. Friendly fire is a real thing. So if you drop a bomb on your guys, they'll die. So you can see I'm building up some suppression here. Oh, nope, I don't have enough suppression. In order to retreat, you have to have a certain amount of suppression on your unit. If it's very low like this, you can't retreat. You can't press the R button and retreat. You'll have to do something else alternatively to get your unit to retreat. Now, one thing to do with artillery. So I did this. Next, I'm going to do hold shift and I'm going to click like this. And what this means is he will move after he shoots to this position. Now, I know the line's really weird. It draws these huge big lines across. That does not mean he's going to drive up here and then drive all the way back. He's just going to drive straight back after he's done. So be aware, this is actually a really useful move for displacing your troops, especially artillery, so it doesn't get counter batteried. Oops, I blew up my own tank. Oopsies. That's a good thing to note. You can kill tanks with mortars and stuff. Be aware. It's very useful. All right. So, like I said, this is really important, especially when artillerying. You press T, drop the artillery, and click somewhere else so that they'll move right after they shoot. Do it every time. Okay, same with like AA. Once they shoot, you might want to Q move them somewhere else. Queue up your orders. Okay, now, another thing these guys can do is called defensive fire over here. This creates a little ring where basically they will kind of shoot anything that gets detected within that ring. So just be aware of that. It's a very useful thing. Big artillery has counter battery fire where it will actually shoot back at artillery that gets shot. But note that is not mortars. They will not counter battery mortars. Okay. Now most of these buttons down here are just the things we just talked about. Reverse, hunt is the Q button. Quick hunt is the J button, like we said. Move fast is F. Fire position is T. Okay, return fire is Z. This basically, when you turn this on, your troops will not shoot until they get shot at. Okay, so this is great for scouts and stuff. If you just want them to kind of sit behind somewhere or like watch, put them on return fire, and then they won't reveal their position the second they use. Do not use smart orders. They're terrible. They will make you lose horribly. So don't use them. Efficient shot, again, I don't actually have a button for this, but basically what this does is it says it will not shoot until it has X percentage of penetration chance. And you can adjust that in the options. Okay, so this is a good thing for AT and stuff. If you don't want it to shoot at something that it only has 10% chance of penetrating, then you can click that to turn it off and make sure it does not do that. Smoke position, really important. It drops smoke. Smoke temporarily blocks the line of sight. Okay, it's B for me. Again, I'd like to note all of these are for me. I might have changed some of these. I do not remember which ones I've changed. It's been a really long time. Make sure you check up your own options and decide what buttons you use the most often and where should they most conveniently be located for you to be efficient and effective in your game. And we can see here now, when I do the line of sight, this is now blocked. Okay, so the smoke has blocked my line of sight here. You can see it just blocked it there. And this is a good way, so you totally blocked off. This is a good way to save your troops if they're being attacked, or let's say you want to attack and you want to get closer to them, as you know, you'd probably drop smoke like right here, so you can drive right up safely and drop those troops off. Really important kind of play to do. I know I don't do enough smoking things enough, but you see this a lot in high-level play when you're commencing a big attack. So those are the big buttons we want to talk about here. Those are the big things I wanted to cover in terms of buttons to click and all that kind of stuff. Make sure you're learning your hotkeys. Make sure you're using the shift button to queue up different orders and things. Make sure you're using the fast unloads and the fast attacks, especially when your troops are coming in and at the beginning of the game, to get them there as fast as possible and as efficiently as possible. If you enjoyed this, please consider dropping a like and subscribing for more Steel Division 2 content. Have a fantastic day.